left everything on the table, man.
It's all good.
I can't be enough to lead us with that. I mean, I'll announce this. I'm gonna handle it. Welcome back, Jackson, Mississippi, to Make It Make Sense. I am your host, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, along with my illustrious co-host,
Keon Perry,
aka KP, aka Young Man. So if you hear me saying Young Man, I'm talking to him and not my producer sitting across from me, who is directing us, which is the joke of the day. It is good to be back with you all in the second half of a back-to-back. Yesterday's show went very quickly. So I just hope everybody had a good evening. Everybody has, family and friends and loved ones came home safe and had a chance to make it different today. How you doing tonight? Or today, KP, not tonight. I'm rushing it.
Still on the verge, man. Trying to make it. More concerned about the city, as always. But I gotta mention how I feel also, along with the city. It runs with the territory.
Absolutely. But I mean, you love your city. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I remember being younger and people always asking, how can you care so much about certain things? But we used to talk about once you have certain glasses on, KP, you can't unsee things, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, sometimes it's not the prettiest place to sit in. Thought it was going to rain out there, but it looks like it's holding. I see that sun coming through even in the studio. Yeah, it came down. Did you see that? I didn't realize, the power started cutting off. And literally, the doorbell starts ringing, everything goes off, and then it just throughout the entire night, it just did that. But I'm not a generator man myself, so I was fine. But yeah, I hope everybody else is doing well. We're going to jump right into the show today. We had you all listen long enough to that awesome song we have that the young man created. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the show, KP. What are we looking like in Jackson on the headlines?
Well, we are starting off with the Senate. The Senate committee to Mary Horn. Let's see what we got. Jackson.
And let me say this, I do this to KP all the time. I'm laughing, right? Because we've been together. We've been doing this. We built this. How about that? But now we've been doing this for a while. We built this together. And right, KP, in a small room, you all talking about an idea, and my producer talking about an idea. And we got so bothered with what was happening here in Jackson. We said, man, you got to make it make sense. I promise you all. This is how the show started, right? We said to each other, you got to make it make sense, and then we just started talking. But yesterday we had a great call. I don't know the intention of the caller, but we had a great call, and where a gentleman started talking about solutions. When are we going to get to solutions, right? I don't threaten me with a good time is what I said. If you all remember when he said that, I got excited the other way. He thought I was going to be bothered, and perhaps no. That's the whole purpose of revealing something is so that you can solve the solution that you're being befuddled or confused by, right? So I love those questions about solutions. What I said afterwards, in order to get to a solution of a math problem, of any issue in front of you, you've got to know the problem at hand, right? So there'll never be a time where we rush past the problem at hand to jump to a solution because the solution is false at that point, right? You got to have discipline to a certain degree. Even if that discipline means you have to hear things about people that you thought were doing great things and aren't doing great things. There was a time my children had to look and hear things about me that they didn't want to hear. Well, Daddy's working too much and he's not coming home and he's missing everything. You just got to face the fact that you've got to accept what you've done. So if you don't like to hear about folks that you thought you held in a place of power and of reverence, and you find out that they were really willing away your future for their own personal gains, I think at that point you would realize that, we can't fast track this part. But the solutions part, we need to talk about, KP, and we talked about that last night. But when we get into it later in the show, that comes with a lot more than just talk. That comes with sacrifice. That comes with education, right? That comes with participation, right? And that's when you see us say things like, hey, we find out about these meetings so that you can be there because that's what we need to do. When we say text this to power so that we can let you know about more things, that's what we're trying to slowly build to, right? Is that participation necessary for us to have that power it takes to move towards a solution. So I love that call, and I promised today I would start off on that same spirit, is that solutions are definitely, what we're here to talk about, because with the changes that are happening, we have no choice but to look for solutions. So quick sidestep, KP. What do you think? Is that well said?
That you mentioned already, when the caller called in, he came at us like we didn't already give our solutions. He didn't come at the people that we were speaking about. Like
that's how you kind of tell where his stance was coming from. Fair enough, young man. Fair enough. Let's jump into these headlines. So the first one you were reading about before I so rudely interrupted you was Go ahead. The Senate committee, I believe, asking Mayor Horn to stop asking for so dang much.
Senate committee asked Jackson Mayor to whittle down request ahead of legislative session. Jackson Mayor John Horn appeared before the Senate Select Committee on Capital City Revitalization this week, looking to partner with the Senate. During the Senate Select Committee on Capital City Revitalization this week, Jackson Mayor John Horn legislators agreed that local and state governments should work together to revive the capital city. State Senator Walter Michael said legislators have the same desire as the residents of Jackson. Huh? The same desire as who?
As the residents of Jackson. You read that correctly. Yeah, man, excellent article. Yeah. Well, I mean, what did you think about it when you looked at it? You had a chance to look at it first. And how did it strike you? Any part of it? I mean, did it feel like it was something that's, I mean, we're looking at the first 100 days. What's
the result of him already working with the government and the city officials, local officials to fix the city? How does it look now?
Well, we're in and let's do fairness and unfair. In fairness, we're in the first 100 days, but in the first 100 days, those results have left. If I were to keep a tab of what the residents of Jackson, the common residents of Jackson have received, and what those outside of Jackson have received, it would literally be 0 under the residents of Jackson. And I have a list from Accelerate Mississippi all the way down to the recent annexation deal where Rankin, Pearl, and Flowood are going to get to build more, whether we get to build or not. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the residents of Jackson, we're at 0 so far. Now, we're maybe this is a big surprise you're planning for us, like a surprise birthday party when you're mean to me and make me think I'm not getting anything but a bag of coals and you done bought me a Ferrari. I doubt it. I doubt it. But yes, KP, that's where we are now so far in the first 100 days. We haven't seen any changes that affect the common, middle of the line that makes up the majority of the rest of us.
Yeah, the majority of Jackson, I don't feel like, that's why I say you feel like that we have the same desire. But I don't think you understand the desire we have. Because if that was the case, we won't be.
You don't care about the desire.
Yeah.
But I like where you're going with it. Absolutely. You're saying that you're thrown off by the fact that it doesn't seem that they even have asked you, a Jacksonian, about your desires.
Exactly.
No, agreed. What else are they saying that jumped out at you?
Jackson, which has a population of about 144,000, has been plagued by crime, infrastructure issues, and blights.
Remember when we talked about they got to run your city down in order to buy it on the cheap? You got to keep repeating something until it's an actual truth. You all are criminals, all 100+ thousand of you. You should be happy for these crumbs that you're getting. Sound familiar?
How familiar that sound?
The mayor was accused of saying that. The Jackson voters of Ficklin should be happy with the folk came out and said that openly during the election. And that doesn't sound like an insult. That just sounds like a way that people talk about Jacksonians. And I'm serious. You know when they say all skin folk and kinfolk, that's a real saying. That some folks are looking at us from the same perspective that folks that want to hurt us are looking at us.
How much control do they want over Jackson?
I mean, they said they want their capital city back, and you have to kind of break that down into what that means. And you have to break that down into what that means. But that's what they said, is that they want it back. Right?
Right.
And so you got to look at what that means. I think it means that they want the ability to control everything that happens inside the city, and they want to benefit from every contractual dollar that flows through that city. Big Brother gets fed first. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we'll see that that's an actual way. But go back to the statement that you read, and then we're going to move to the next one. Let's do, bullet attacks, and let's move through this. So, but where did you read the part about Jackson, what Jackson residents want? Let me look at it real quick because
I got you. State Senator Walter Michael said legislators have the same desires as residents of Jackson. This is the beginning part. It said during the Senate Select Committee on Capital Revitalization this week, Jackson Mayor John Horn.
I'm saying you fought that word before, you just killed it. I should have said that. I'm sorry.
And legislators agreed that the local and state governments should work together to revive the capital city. And the same part I just read, State Senator Walter Michael said the legislators have the same desire as the residents of Jackson. We want tourists to come to Jackson. We want people to live in downtown Jackson, he said.
That's what I wanted you to read. And then read the next part. Jackson, which has a population of how much does it say?
144,000.
That's right, Has been plagued, that's the part that KP started with, right? Has been plagued by crime, infrastructure issues. I think that's a very big part of the article that you pulled up. And again, this article is Senate Committee asked Jackson Mayor, this was a few hours ago, to whittle down requests ahead of legislative session, right? And so to my brother, we're going to stay on you today in a good way, I hope, if you really want to change. When you talk about solutions, the first solution is being aware and watching what's being said about your city, right? Understanding decisions that are being made. So State Senator Walter Michael, Republican, said legislators. Now let's pause right there. State Senator Walter Michael, a Republican, said legislators have the same desire as the residents of Jackson. Now, what would a Republican state senator has shown us? What have they shown us they understand about the desires that the residents of Jackson have? First off, then he went on to say, we want tourists to come to Jackson. We want people to live in downtown Jackson. Now, let me tell you something. I've talked to a lot of residents of Jackson, KP, and not one of them, the first thing they said is, we want tourists to come to Jackson. We want people to live in downtown. I'm not telling you that's not a desire of a healthy city. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that in no way, shape, or form is what the city is crying for. So to say that, first off, for State Senator Walter Michael to say that is showing you what's happening here. And I think, KP, it's personally, we're going to move on. Like I said, I think it personally is reticent. It brings us back to that Northside Sun article. When we stay consistent, hopefully the people hear us. The Northside Sun article begging its Republican voters to interfere in the Democratic election to get John Horn, right? Go in there and vote for Horn or Tim. Tim falls back, vote for Horn. We didn't focus on Horn at that point during the elections. We focused on the Northside Sun, their constituents, their GOP far-right ideology, and what did they want out of the deal? So when they said we want tourists to come to Jackson and we want people to live in downtown Jackson, give us a call, send an anonymous message. Is that what you care about as a Jacksonian? 601-948-5950.
So they don't care. So what this, in my definition of it, correct me if I'm wrong, are they saying that since they say we want tourists to come to Jackson, we want people to live in downtown Jackson, are they saying the majority of Jackson basically saying they're trying to double line it, like we don't want y'all to come down to downtown Jackson?
No, you're not the quality of people they want in downtown Jackson. And everything I say I can prove, because when Babanasi talked about putting the high-end luxury apartments, he said we're going to bring in good apartments, good business, and good tenants. Not paying tenants, good tenants. Of course we know they think something's wrong with the people of Jackson. You could have created those apartments. You could have created the same downtown feel. You could have created the same supermarkets. You could have revitalized the city the same way by adding in the people of Jackson, but instead you've made it very clear we're creating luxury apartments at $2,900. Okay, well that's the financial language Jacksonians have to understand means that's not for you. That's more factual than them saying to you that's not for you. Because I know we're not paying $2,900 a month here in Jackson for an apartment. Just so I can be close to a steakhouse, it's going to cost me $100+ for a steak. Just so I can be close to a coffee house, it's going to cost me $11 for some coffee. Like right now, Don Gabriel gas stations are selling their water for $11.99. Right now, Don Gabriel gas stations are LLC'd as supermarkets, which means they're supposed to have fresh produce and deli. So yes, KP, 100% I say we're being priced out now. We're being tested now. And I think the end result is definitely to have a different type of people in downtown Jackson than the resident of Jackson right now. So I think we keep moving, but I think that, Jackson, take note of that. And I think there's some other stories that are going to keep us down that same thing.
Well, let's get on to the next one. State sues over Trump administration suspending food benefits during shutdown. Let's see.
Yeah, that's a big one. What article are we looking at there? I mean, we know what we're talking about here. We're talking about SNAP benefits, which has been all over the internet, social media. It's been on everybody's mouth, the shutdown.
Well, it says a coalition of Democratic-led states sued the Trump administration on Tuesday, seeking to avert what will be a historic lapse in food aid for millions of Americans that is set to begin November 1st amid an ongoing government shutdown. The lawsuit represents a critical challenge.
Yeah, we started talking about this yesterday. We didn't have a chance to get into it, but it's a link to the federal shutdown that started on the 1st. Currently, again, it's the second largest shutdown in United States history. And if it continues into November, it then would become the longest shutdown in the nation. I know driving in here, I was listening to the recent holdings they had today, and there was no agreement as far as I heard. I don't know if they're still going through there. But
Well, I read something online that said that the Trump administration cut $500 million in deliveries to food banks across the country. Food banks were expecting more than 27 million pounds of chicken, 2 million gallons of milk, 10 million pounds of dried fruit, and 67 million eggs that never arrived and went to waste instead.
He's starving you out.
Starving y'all out.
Yeah. I mean, and there's food, and there was a post that we put about that, guys. If you look at it, where food is being weaponized, and you see it happening in Gaza right now. So you look at the close relationship between your politicians and the Israeli government, and you look at the fact that I'm 99% sure that Mississippi's some of their forces of some nature have trained in Israel with IDF before, or troops from the south have. I'm almost sure some Mississippi factions have. You have to really have to look at the parallel between that. And Akil, when he was on here with us regularly, one of the beautiful things that this brother bought was just that connection overseas, because he would always tell me, Tariq, what's happening overseas is often a mirror of what's happening here. And when you connect them, you're able to take a bigger stand against it. So the attempted starvation, and I said to you all yesterday, let's slow it down for a moment. Look at Andy Gibson, the commissioner. Look at what he is, the grassroots type approach he's taking to ensuring that the Republican clientele are using grassroots method to eat on, while they're instead inflaming us with newspaper articles. And one thing you got to recognize, Republicans run newspapers just like Democrats run newspapers. Republicans own social media sites just like Democrats do. So if every single headline is trying to get you to worry about lost SNAP benefits, you've got to think that maybe there's a bigger scoop up than you recognize. Some folks are on one page and the African-American descendants of slaves are on another page. And that's period what it looks like. You don't ever bring that question to me and think that I'm going to sidestep that. So right now, the Democratic and Republican Party are arguing politics, right? While they're arguing politics, African-American and communities that are mainly plagued by poverty, including white communities for that matter, because Mississippi has a 38% poverty rate, if not higher. We're being left to the side. But when you turn to the Republican-led communities, which a lot of the folks here in the white community subscribe to, right? They're just talking about the dynamics. You see them getting ready to feed their people. But where are our leaders telling us, but I'm going to have them hold for a second, wait a minute. Where are our leaders telling us to prepare to feed our people? You probably didn't know where I was going with that. You probably thought I was going to say, well, any of them shouldn't be feeding our people. Oh, we lost him. Call back in. No. He's doing just what they should be doing. If they know that that SNAP is stopped, you know what Andy understands? Andy understands how many white people are on aid. So we've got to get this stuff going quickly, because a lot of these people that voted for Donald Trump are going to get very angry real quick if they can't get food. They built a new Aldi's in Madison. Aldi's has some very good prices. Look at what's happening. Aldi's is not the store you think of when you think Madison at all. You think high-end, a little pricier. People are popping quarters right in there, getting those carts and getting them low prices. Why would folks in Madison all of a sudden need a discount store? Well, because Trump's policies are hurting everybody. But their side is creating some type of release for their people.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense, caller. You're on the air.
Yes. First of all, us people, there's no bearing color or none of that. We need to start praying more and get together than this bickering. And as far as politics, I don't see why people look at this one person, which I call his name Trump, and let him get away with anything that he wants to get away with. And y'all agree with it. And
So when you say you all agree with it, go into that a little bit. Who do you see agreeing with that? That's a great point. Now, where do you see that happening in our community more so? I see it happening too, but where do you see it happening when folks are agreeing with Trump's policies in our community here?
not getting out voting, for number one. Number two, not sharing opinion and getting out, helping people to knowledge.
And I love that number two, and I'm going to stop you there for a moment because that's what this show is doing. So what do you think about the topic we're talking about today? how we prepare as the Republicans, Andy Gibson, as they're preparing to grassroots feed their people as they try to starve ours. What are your thoughts on our preparation and our solution-based planning to try to do the same for our folks here, especially in Mississippi?
First of all, I think we should educate our people, and our people need to get together and want to know this education and stop dictating and complaining about what Andy Gibbs and Trump is doing and get them out of there.
Perfect. So brother, okay, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate it, and thank you for listening too as well.
I
Go ahead.
want to say one more thing.
Sure.
I want to say one more thing. And these people that voted for Trump and seeing what's going on, and these people that's working in federal government and everything, and now they on furlough and they getting paid, and they got families, that should open up their eyes to stop being illiterate and dumb and walk off. I mean,
All right, no, that's a good point. That's a good point, my brother. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
Hold on 1 second.
1 second. I got 30 more seconds, my brother, for some other. Go ahead.
Okay. If you work for a federal government and you got a family and you furloughed and ain't getting paid where you can take care of your family, and this man threatening you and telling you you got to come to work, I mean, why not just stand up? This man is just a human being.
No, you're making a good point, my brother. I have to land it. You're making a good point, though. We're going to go ahead and take it. But I got you. You want to land one last comment before we close out, my brother?
Okay, yeah. Tell him, kiss my butt and walk off the job. What more can he do to you?
Hey, there's not a better way to end it, brother. There's not a better way. And thank you for calling, my brother. You keep listening to us, okay? Kiss my butt and walk off the job. Now, that's why you got to let stuff unfold, and I think we lost the other caller. Call back in, caller, and we'll get you in. But that's why you let things unfold, because I don't care how long you take to get something. That brother's final statement is very strong, because what he's saying is, stop letting other people dictate what you do. You'll see people sitting up there putting cuffs on somebody, crying, telling them, but it's my job. You don't have, now if you want to, that's your choice. But you don't have to do it. Remember they used to say when we were young, you ain't got to do nothing but be black and die. Mm-hmm. Maybe we had a better understanding of life. Maybe we lost that understanding, that grasp. Maybe through all these games that some of us got, the rest of us lost that understanding. No, you don't have to be a peon in the game. Yes, you can go look for another job. And I'm talking about all the way down to, yes, you can offer your services babysitting in the community, even if you're an accountant by trade. But you're a parent, and you know what it's like to watch a child, like I do, right? Yes, you can offer your services. Yes, there's other ways to barter. There's a lot between zero and you sell your community out. Yeah. All right, what's the next title?
I was about to say, a lot of people, they'll probably be like, oh, I don't want to lose my job, but I need the money. There's a million other jobs for you out there where you ain't got to see people out.
They got to be ready. They've got to be ready.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Calling you on the air. Okay, you know, technical difficulties.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Call you on the air. Nope. Finish what you're saying, KB. I'll try to get it in there.
Oh, let me call. Okay, he'll call back. But yeah, okay, there we go. Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Calling you on the air. I gotta slow down.
No, we tried too many times. You on the air, caller?
How you doing today?
We're doing excellent, brother. How are you?
Swell, brother, swell.
All right, I'm a Trump supporter, and I did vote for Trump.
Okay.
I moved to Mississippi on purpose.
From where?
I moved from Chicago.
Okay.
I live in Mississippi now. I own 36 acres out here.
Okay.
The first thing I want to say is I believe in doing for self.
Okay.
I believe that we need to start getting our own seeds and feeding ourselves, and we need to start doing community work part. If I have a farm and you have something, swap and trade with you. We need to take ourselves out the European market and market ourselves and feed ourselves and quit crying about what Trump's doing, because Trump ain't put nobody in the grave yet. So I'm just
That ain't true.
Listen to your show, but I do believe ourselves.
his
Trump
insurance
is
kicked
not the
in.
boogeyman. He's not doing nothing the Europeans have never did to us.
I can't argue with that.
I can. He are putting people in the ground. He's taking away SNAP benefits. It's not long before a lot of people lose their life because of the decisions he's making in America. What do you mean he's not taking their lives? He's conducting a way where people are going to lose their life.
Well, I appreciate the show, but you guys, y'all selling it. Jack Mississippi is horrible. I agree, but y'all selling it like we can't do for ourselves.
So when you say, well, let's unpack that. And see, I was gonna let you slide, brother. I was gonna let you slide. I was gonna address it offline for you, brother. But talk to me. I keep you on. I'm not one of the people that say stuff and drop the hammer on you. I was gonna let you go and talk about it a little bit offline, right? So the first thing, let's back up. So you sound intelligent, my brother, right? And that's the first thing that throws me off a little bit. And that's why I listen to you, right? Because I wanted to hear you out. You sound intelligent, like you have a grasp of the English language to a degree. My father used to teach me, and when you talk about Europeans, they understand what you understand when they're having a conversation with you, right? So your Booker T, spirit, I see it lying under there and I like it, right? This is the problem, right? When you betray yourself, and this is why the young man said something. So, I had called in and said, Democrats and Republicans are arguing over something that has nothing to do with the fact that 15 out of every 1,000 black babies are dying in Mississippi. Democrats and Republicans are arguing over something that had nothing to do with the fact that the black family in Mississippi and in other places is broken to a T. The Democrats and Republicans are arguing about something that has nothing to do with the mental health that's plaguing our young people. The Democrats and Republicans are arguing about nothing that has to do with the drugs that are plaguing our young people and that are plaguing our schools. The Democrats and Republicans are arguing with nothing that has anything to do with the 17 schools just shut down in Jackson. But when you skip over all of that, the Democrats and Republicans are not arguing about the folks that are stealing money out of Jackson and paving streets of other cities that we can see. The Democrats and Republicans have no problem with goon squads and sheriffs that openly use the N-word and brag about putting so many black men in rivers a few years ago that river has turned muddy. When you jump over all of that, brother, and jump to Jackson is horrible. No, my brother, you are horrible. Because, let me finish. And I'm saying this with love. I'm not saying this to be aggressive or bad. You are horrible because your ignorance is imprinted so deep. I don't mean that in a bad way. Your ignorance of your history and the fact that you haven't even seen your insurance kick in yet, but you ignorantly are saying that Trump policies are working for you. I know they're not if you're a black farmer with 36 acres of land. You may think they are now, but as soon as somebody needs what you got, they're going to take it. And I don't want you to, please do not dispute that because you insult too many descendants of black farmers who have had their land snatched from under them. So I don't care who you support or who you vote for. Let me tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure, and I'm not going to let you respond to this. If you dare think that when they want your land, they won't get it, you stupid, you dumb, and you were born 3 days ago, and I don't think you believe that. I think you know very well what can happen to you. That's why you came on here trying to share the European concept of attacking the Europeans while you supported Trump. That you can't share the baby. You can't split the baby, brother. The heartbeat gets cut. You either got to stand for your people and come on with the message you came on with, which I love. We got to do for self. We got to create partnerships, thriving partnerships that come together. But instead of doing that, you let as if for some reason you above these folks in Jackson because you were stupid enough to vote for a man that doesn't care about the majority of the American people. And I'm talking about policy, not emotion. I'm talking about the practice of what he does, not the emotion of what we feel. I'm speaking this way so all of our audience from here to California can understand what ignorance looks like. It doesn't look like the young man saying, why'd you vote for Trump? It looks like you, an achieved brother who owns 36 acres of land, who should have educated himself and known better than getting on this radio station, starting his conversation with Jackson is horrible. Go ahead and say what you got to say, brother.
All right, I'm going to say it real quick and real simple. I'm glad today's not Sunday. You sure was preaching.
You needed it, my brother. Remember who showed it. Listen, I tried to give you a chance to respond. Don't take that chance to throw jabs. I didn't throw jabs, and we got calls waiting in the queue. Go and take the next call. He said what I had to say. I was trying to give you a chance to actually give me some facts on why you felt that way. But if you want to throw jabs, let the next call on.
What did it make sense, Kyle? You don't want that.
Good afternoon. My question to that smart, very, very intelligent young man is, if he voted for Trump and he has his own land, make me understand why did he vote for Trump. That's first and foremost. My second thing is, I'm glad that you attacked it the way that you did, but my advice to it is, Sometimes ignorance does not need defense.
Don't even help him, huh?
Itself, that becomes, yes, lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
I think that's where he is with it.
You're right.
Ignorance defends itself, lack of knowledge.
Now, you ain't listen, and let me just say this, you're 100% right. What you heard right there was me, somebody that really talks and works with people. That was the first time you all probably have heard emotions, and it really was emotions connected to facts, but the fact that you get on this phone and use your time to attack people that are fighting every day to make it is just disgusting to me.
We're gonna make sense. Call you on there.
Yes. The brother that just called in and said he came from Chicago and he got this much land and he voted for Trump. I'm sending this out to this bro. Why did you come from Chicago? And why did you come to Mississippi? You know why? He came from Chicago because Trump sent troops over there to Chicago. He know how bad it is. So you're going to vote for Trump, but you're going to leave your country to come to Mississippi. It's all right to come to Mississippi. And he sounds intelligent. But fool, you don't have the intelligence enough to help your own people. And you talking about you vote for Trump, the devil. That's all he is. And I don't understand. Y'all know what he's doing, and y'all act like he's a mighty God.
Well, I think I'm glad that people like you called in. We got one more call, two more coming in, my brother. But I appreciate you for listening. I agree with you, brother. Yes, sir. No, you're not at all, brother. They just coming in. Thank you.
Welcome to make sense. Call you on there.
Turn your radio down if you can, caller.
Yes, I got you. Look here, you're really making it make sense. Open up the eyes of the blind. You should be a preacher if you're not.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
They're trying to make comment. This is what it's all alluding to. One man, one voice, one vote controls all. And what happened is, it's done so smoothly until you don't realize it until it's done.
That's right.
Communist is a thing that is scared in that way. Why do you think he was friends with Kim Jong-un and whatever, Putin, all this kind of stuff? He got with these people. He learned he'll get in office, don't never want to come out. He want to stay there. He's establishing what he's doing right under our nose, not caring about blowing up folks, blowing up boats, doing everything he want to do as a communist without even going through the range. What is that telling us? If President Obama had done anything like that, President Obama would have been thrown out the White House. So what we're doing now, making it make sense, somebody want to say what they're doing, what is we doing? We supporting a lot of this with our money that we spend when we buy things from people that don't care nothing about us. And let's bring them home to Jackson. Look at the airport. Now they want to build around that. They're raising taxes so high you would have to give them the land. If you really want to make it make sense, their plan is to take all of Jackson's jewels and carry them over to let them have it. And then Jackson will look like the old Jackson Mall.
Yep.
Or the Metro Center Mall. Dilapidated. And that's all they want.
That's right, my brother. I don't think I could have said it better. I'm going to take one more call that's coming in, my brother. I don't think I could have said it better, the majority of what you said. Thank you for listening.
We're going to make it make sense. Call you on there.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm calling to encourage the citizens of Jackson. You mentioned on the last week for us to show up at the Capitol at 10 a.m.
Yes.
I was there. I saw very few Jacksonians there. And to me, if people, you couldn't say anything, but by showing up, it showed you cared for Jackson. And just looking around, they saw that very few people were concerned. So anything that you announce, I tell different organizations or people in organizations, show up. That's all I have to say. Oh, the last thing is, the information without action is just entertainment. We need to show some action and show up to these places.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. No, I appreciate you and thank you for listening. And sometimes you just, you a loss of words in a good way, right? And that's where we have to be. KP and I, sometimes folks laugh at the way we film things, right? If you look at our website, we just film to let you all know. We don't always look the best, right? KP's holding the camera sometimes, just being honest, right? We don't have a stand. So we jumped in front of City Hall to what the call is talking about, is just making sure you all know. There was the first time we told you all, and folks, it was standing only the space at City Hall when they were talking about the annexation. Now, when they start talking about other things, we got to show up. And listen, even if you just drive by, you'll be I promise you, this is one promise I'm making. We'll move on to the next story because if you just show up to one of these locations, right, and look at the surprise on the face of the Republican lawmakers that walk by you as you're standing on Capitol, because no one's showing up. When you see that surprise, then you'll realize how powerful, as that caller just said, just show up. Just pick it. Sometimes if I have nothing to do with my children all the way, I just pick a movement and go show up and just be there, see what's happening. Right? So, yes, sir. I agree with him 100%. And KP, I think you set it off in a good way. I think that that caller. I think he showed his true colors once you asked that question. Because I was going to quietly unpack it offline so we could keep moving. As always, we have stories we're not going to get to today either. But I tried to quietly unpack it and just point out some fallacies in what he was saying. You stopped him in his tracks and made him confront it. And then our callers called and backed that up. And like the sister said, sometimes you let ignorance be shown. But this is what I'll say. Sometimes, sister, you Serena Williams it too, right? And so that's one of the differences. I've got time. I have the information, I have the vision, and somebody out there didn't understand how egregious what that young man did was, right? How egregious and how unintelligent it was. And see, what I'm here for is not just for the people that already don't like what he's saying. Remember, there's somebody that thought what he was saying was smart, that thought, how my children said it, that thought he ate, right? And then I went ahead and let him know in those same terms, with that same eloquence, that he did not in fact eat. He regurgitated something that someone that wants him to die gave him, and he's silly enough to bring that to the mainstream and say it on air with pride. I moved from Chicago to Mississippi, I got 36 acres and I voted for Trump. Black people need to do for self, you can do what I did. No, we can't. So that's just crazy. And I'm not being facetious, that's crazy, sir. We're in a state where we're fighting having lost over 800,000 acres of farmland since the 40s. Please don't come here telling folks about how you voted for Trump and got yourself 36 acres of farmland as a black man. You sound like a fool.
What's bothering me is that y'all referred to him as
he done got 36 acres.
That caller, I want to get more information on who he is, so y'all can stop people like that in the track.
Hey, a man that left Chicago and come to Mississippi to get 36 acres of land as a black man. That's who he is. A fallacy. He's a made-up figure.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he called in to try to disrupt the progress because you know what's happening? When we get closer to certain things, right? Like the water. You know how we talk about the water is a story? When we get closer to some of these things, then people start sending their minions to us, right? Their minions are going to look like you and sound like you. So when I say things like this I pulled an old show, right? We talked about the networks of nonprofits tied to our creeks and waterways, right? So federal money has come through congressional appropriations to maintain Jackson's creeks, canals, and flood zones, right? But the people never saw the benefit, right? So the citizens still living in flood-prone areas, West Jackson, South Jackson, might ask, where did the money go? How did this start? Because my children were asking me, why are these roads always messed up? And I told them some roads are so nice in some parts of Jackson because the debris, it was cleaned out. The creeks, the canals, everything was cleaned out properly as it was supposed to be, right? But in some areas, it was not cleaned out. So even though contractors out of Madison, Brandon, all these contractors were paid to clean out these areas, they didn't. So then when you got to release some of that pressure, off the Pearl River, you got to open them gates and let that water flush out. Guess what happens in the black neighborhoods? It floods. Why is it flooding? That's the part folks don't want to talk about. So these are just little instances of, you start talking about those things. You start talking about charter and voucher schools, Northside. You start talking about Redeemer Church, and why is this woman sitting on the Mississippi Charter Authorization Board as a black woman with black babies, and they're sitting up there helping to rake almost $400 million, is what Holzman himself said is probably going to come out of the public school system next year, 2026. Why am I jumping around to these things? Because if you don't start looking at what's happening around you, and you don't start making sense of it, Jackson, your children will suffer. The reason I don't let things slide anymore, when an ignorant person calls in, and I'm ignorant in ways, when an ignorant person calls in, I call it as it is. No, sir, that's not just somebody saying something silly. That's somebody that is dangerous. Because imagine that person that just called on the phone as a senator over Benny Thompson's area, the Delta, all of these areas that are hurting. Imagine them as a senator over a large area like that with that mentality. My God.
We're going to make it make sense, Carly. You on there?
Welcome to Make Sense. Call, you're on the air.
Hey, thank you. I think you're being a little hard on the brother.
Oh.
Myself, I own some land in the Delta also, and I support the president.
Now, which brother? Are you, oh, okay, you mean the last caller, not the
You take
mayor.
care of your
Okay.
children, and you send your girlfriends and your sisters to me. Now, I'll make sure they don't starve. Have a great day.
Oh, don't go yet. What'd you say? Oh.
He said he gonna send his sisters and your girlfriend to him, so make sure that they don't starve. He's just,
What? Call it. But don't do that to us. We're gonna talk to you. I know he's not gonna hang up on him. He everything got out of it. Your girlfriend, your mother. Boop. Nah, I would have talked about it, sir. I'm 48. I'm not 18. We don't play the dozens anymore. We could have talked about it.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense, Carl. You on there?
Turn your radio down for us, caller, please.
How you doing, sir?
Excellent. How about yourself?
Tree man, Tree's good, man. Oh, you should have told that dude, you should have asked him one person. Take his so-and-so to Madison County or Rankin County and get him in jail and see who he calls for.
Ooh, yes, sir. He wouldn't even make it to jail out there with all that money. They don't like uppity ones, huh?
Yeah, that's all he has to do.
That's all.
Go down to County and see who Trump's calling what I'll get him out of jail.
Hey, yes, sir. We appreciate that, my brother. And what he said, if y'all didn't hear him, was he said, tell that brother to go on down to Yazoo County and Rankin County, get into some trouble, and call somebody to get him out of jail. And what he's really saying, I don't allow anybody to minimize what my people say. What he's saying is, if you think race relations are based on black people learning to do for self here in Mississippi, then take your fool self out to one of them counties, like Jasper County, where they threaten people openly online, and go ahead and see how it works out for you with all your land.
he'll learn. It's coming.
These bootstraps you pulled yourself up by. That's why you got off that tip so quickly into the attack as soon as KP asked him. You attacked quickly. I love it, brother. You got the right one. Yeah, they gonna learn to stop calling us. Because I'm gonna let you talk.
They scared.
I'm gonna let you talk.
He don't even
I'm
want to
gonna let
say
you talk. You say, yeah, call back. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna let you talk even if you attack. Ain't nothing wrong with you
I
attacking.
mean, that's what we do, you know. We ain't got to hang up on the cop. We hang up on
Ah,
ourselves.
brother, because we really from and doing what we said we're doing, and that is a Chicago's own ill. Is that the police?
Welcome to Make It Make Sense, Carl. You on there? Welcome to Make It Make Sense, Carl. You on there?
I think they were just prank calling us. That came from Chicago. So apparently this brother ain't even in Mississippi, y'all. He's in Chicago calling us. Yeah, but you make Chi-Town look bad, because I know folks from there, and that's not what they say.
They don't play that, bro.
They say, tell my cousins to keep fighting, because that was the whole purpose. And that's the ignorance of him. He doesn't understand that folks migrated from the South into these areas to try to get away from the oppressive South. That's what I'm talking about when I say ignorance. You're never going to get me off my game, brother. I'm going to always keep talking when I'm talking, right? So what you don't understand is the migration from Mississippi to the South. So you sound foolish if you were Chicagoan, calling them. That sounds like, KP, that's like you left the fire and you look back like, hey, y'all need to do better. Well, if you understood, you would understood we left one to get to the other. So I think it's very important to take these calls. Because, folks, you got to understand what we're up against. Today was supposed to be a solution show. And if you notice, we got more pushback than when we're just talking about people. I started the show saying, let's talk about some solutions, but are you ready? Remember? I said it's going to take participation. It's going to take sacrifice. Those must have been trigger words because they started calling. And ironically, the Republican called. Sacrifice? What are you Negroes trying to do? Let me just tell you how bad you are, and let's just leave it there, right? I don't want to go too deep into that. So that's the part that we have to be aware of. Because I think that when I started talking about the water, you see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link it right back in. So those things that happen should make us ask different questions.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense, caller. You are on the air.
Yes. Did you hear about the governor of Louisiana wanted to put a statue up about the guy that got killed?
Charlie Kirk.
Utah?
You talking about Charlie Kirk?
Yes. He wants to make a statue on the campus of LSU. You know, and
Is it the same?
we can have something to say about that. If we protest against that, guess what? They won't even find a football coach because nobody want to be a part of that.
Absolutely. No, that's a good point, brother. And I'll take it even further, my brother. I know this is somewhat of a new thought, but if we somehow found a way to give our children a different outlet other than just football, think of what we could do if we pulled them out of football altogether. And watch that empire crumble and watch our children learn how to make it without that sport. Because the honest truth is this, and if you're an athlete, you know this. I'll go as high to say 90% of African Americans that compete at a high level, their children don't receive the rest of their education. The boys I'm talking about. So yeah, I love that thought, brother. I just think that we need to look at that in a holistic way and maybe apply it even bigger.
We're going to make it make sense. Make sense, caller. You on there?
Yeah, I was given a call in about the man that called me from Chicago. The guy that was talking I felt like you got in your feelings a lot and you were very emotional and you didn't get in the talk. I feel like he made a lot of points that you didn't want to hear.
Are you talking about? Let me ask you a question. Hold on, no, it's my show. Hold on a second. And I think you would do a great show, by the way. I think you do a great. I know, but it's still our show. I'm gonna ask you a question. We have 15 calls in queue. I can take another call. That's fine. But listen, let me ask you a question. Are you talking about the man that I let talk? The call was over. KP, the young man, asked the question. I hadn't even said anything to him. Let me take another call. That's just in her feelings. I let that man talk there and say, "Thank KP, I was hanging up with him, right?"
Yeah.
Come on, sis.
Try again.
You try it.
Hey, how we doing?
You doing good? How you doing?
All right. You got a lot of callers showing you the difference between a Sambo and an Uncle Tom.
Yes. Woo! Good gracious. Two sides of bad.
Because the Uncle Tom is the one that helps the people, and then the Sambo is the one that will tear down their own for their own benefit.
That's the difference. And both hurt us. It's just in which ways they hurt us that take the pie.
Most definitely. So keep standing strong. I support you.
Hi, Tyler.
Well, we appreciate that, sister. We appreciate that. KP, what you think? I'm going to give you a chance to respond. The one thing I never can give is the other callers a chance to respond without you, KP. What do you feel about what's happening?
Their mind is clouded by emotion. They're not understanding exactly what we're talking about. They're ready to be right about something, ready to address what's really going on. You see what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of people are supporting too. Just we realize that a lot of people are backing you up. You're right. I think you're talking about the folks that are detractors. Yeah.
I'm saying she was more focused on you talking over him. Yeah. You were emotional, but she didn't call in with nothing else but that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the problem. You didn't even say some of the stuff he was talking about.
Absolutely. The attacks that come, he attacks you. Yeah, but this is the key, you all. To a degree, you got to have a show for a reason, sister. So I say that in a loving way. 90.1 has lineups. I mean, if you're in Chicago, you want to do a remote, jump on there. You can get your own show, right? But we want to keep this lined up. The reason I stopped her is because if you start with a lie, I'm going to stop you, right? I'm going to start. And everyone that was listening to the show heard me not only listen to the man's entire spiel, but I went to get him off the air. That's how much I listened to him. And KP had said something to him, then I responded. So if you're not going to give truth when you call in, then, we just, as the people, I don't want the people to be misled. So, I love the calls that are coming in. And KP, I think you're right. I think, again, guys, we didn't get but halfway through the show, right? We had a lot that we wanted to talk about and a lot we wanted to go deeper in. So you got to follow us on It Make Sense JXN. We're going to do a podcast the rest of the week. We're starting podcast where KP and I jump on with our producer, and we keep this conversation going. So we want to keep it going. But to the gentleman that called about, I just don't want to ignore people to take their time to call us, about Governor Landry asking LSU to erect a statue of Charlie Kirk. My brother, I definitely think that obviously there's a problem with that. I sometimes tend to prioritize their attacks, right? And so I don't necessarily respond to everything they do because most of it is trying to get us angry. So I'll tell you, I'll back you 100%, but until that statute starts to take away 15 black babies per every 1,000 life, I'm going to focus on those things first. So I think you're right, it's an insult. But I think a lot of times they try to throw these things in front of us so we miss the bigger things that are happening, right? And I think that with all of this that's happening, jump on our Facebook page, because I talk a lot about the fact that we often, as an African-American people, have the resources we need to succeed, but those that are leading us, and I gave a line that Tupac said that's an excellent line, and I hope your ears aren't too closed to hear this. He said, "I remember the past time giving up cash to the leaders, knowing dang well they're not going to feed us." This is the importance of understanding where we are now, right? And that's a different place. And when that sister called in and said it's a difference between a Sambo and Uncle Tom, what she's trying to explain to you all is that there are several other ways that African Americans survived here in Mississippi other than just working hard. A lot more people survived off the backs of the descendants of African slavery than white folks. When we talk plantation preachers, when we talk these different types of entities, we're not going to only talk to you about one part, and I know that's going to anger some folks before I sit down. I got to answer to my children at night. I don't give a, you know what you think about what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, right? So you got to understand that. So yeah, listen, even right here, we've got wings where you've got folks that jump on the radio on gospel stations at 7 o'clock on a Sunday. I'm talking about Earl Banks, I'm talking about Solly Norwood, I'm talking about Mayor Horn, and they're discussing your future, and I'm trying to tell you to go look at it. I'm going to tell you why people are mad at us. That's why you're seeing all these detractor calls come flying here. Go look at our Facebook page. I bet you'll understand why they don't like us. And they don't like my mouth. I talk a lot. I get that. And you know, some of that can be actually genuine. Okay, people. No, I mean dead serious. When you start hitting those folks that look, but see, you told on yourselves. And what you shouldn't have done was going out to Madison talking all the time on the Facebook pages. That's why I left Jackson. Because we started looking. The young man and I started looking. And we started to understand that a lot of folks look like us and are hurting us. And that gentleman that called in gave my audience a perfect vision of what they sound like. Because what do you think he says when he sits at a table negotiating your future? Because remember, the first black person that shows up gets to talk for the rest of the people sometimes. That's why they talk about voting. If only 18,000 people vote in a district that covers the Delta and all of these areas, right? Then the bigwigs only worried about them 18,000 people.
You know, we had a group come down here from Chicago.
They don't care about you. Yes, we did. I'm going to reach out to the brothers. Come on.
We
See, that's what people got to understand. How many, but we don't just talk this, we do this. And we did work. We had a guy from Chicago come on here, a brother, a comrade of us, and I guarantee you to that brother in Chicago, he doesn't see things the way you see it.
No.
But that brother that called in doesn't even see things the way he sees it. He's a plant. He's there to come in as soon as we start talking that unity, as soon as we start talking collectives. I made the mistake of saying some trigger words here that have caused a lot to come our way. Collective is a word they don't like to hear in the black community. Oh, they talk about breakfast feeding programs. Whoa, then they don't need us. We got a big problem. Because the Democrats, who am I going to lead if I'm a Democrat that just talks to you about food stamps? If I'm a Republican that just locks you up, who am I going to lock up if they talking about reading? Who am I going to lock up? Please wake up your eyes and make it make sense. And I wish we had more people emotional about our people. That's what I say. I wish we had more people that care instead of explain away our people. The hurt, the pain that happens to our people on a regular basis, the lack of health care for our women, the mental health hospitals closed down, the fact that they're criminalizing homelessness after taking away everything that allowed us to do on our own. So this was a wonderful show. There is no growth that comes without discomfort. So I love this. And Jackson, we got to keep doing this. I wish I was on tomorrow, and we're trying to get more time because we got to bang heads this way. Because after you finish banging heads with me, I swear to God, if you don't go Google and look up these people that are controlling your future, but you got the nerve to jump on this radio station, and I see those calls coming in. If you got the nerve to jump on those calls and back-to-back hit them calls, and we hang up, and you don't pull up some LLCs, and when I say that your mayor received money from builders, and you just dismiss me as a loudmouth, you deserve what your ignorance brings you.
We ain't gonna be here forever, Jackson.
Best way to end it out. We ain't gonna be here forever, Jackson. Till next time, make it make sense, Jackson. For your host, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, and my co-host, we love you.
Yeah.
Like a thief in the night.